Oh, Tyson Fury just did it, y'all. I said Tyson Fury just did it, y'all. Tyson Fury finally admits that Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, oh my God, is the most dangerous fighter in the world, on the planet. Yes, that's what he said. More on that in this video. I'm going to talk about everything in this video. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you guys smash the like button. We're going to continue to work, close the year strong. Now, Tyson Fury, he had a lot to say regarding his upcoming opponent, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. And to be honest, at this point, I don't even know how some of you guys pretend that you don't hear the walking contradiction himself, Tyson Fury. Fury seems to just say whatever he wants when he wants with reckless abandon, no real regard. He doesn't care if it makes sense, these types of things. So now Fury is admitting, and keep in mind, Fury has done this in the past. He's done it in the past where he said pretty much the same thing, that Wilder's dangerous. However, he sprinkles in lies in between the truth. So it's this constant, ping pong back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Anytime you're dealing with Tyson Fury, anytime. 1 minute he says Wilder's a bum and he's not even good enough to be my sparring partner and I'm not training for Wilder. Then he'll switch and say something else and say Wilder's actually great. Wilder will beat all the heavyweights and destroy all the other heavyweights and decimate all the other heavyweights. So it's like, which one is it? Which one do you really believe? So the most recent interview that I've seen from Tyson Fury, he had the Rona mask on and it was done in the UK. He still hasn't come back to the USA for his upcoming fight, which he delayed again. And this is what Tyson Fury said. Roll the clip.
If I just say the name Deontay Wilder, what goes through your head?
What goes through my head? Not a lot, to be fair. Deontay Wilder is a good fighter. He's one of the best of our era. So many fights, so many wins, so many great nights of entertainment. Just because he loses to me doesn't define him as a fighter. I've tried to say that before on another interview. Losing fights doesn't define us as fighters. It's what we do from there, how we come back and how we get over and how we move on in life. Muhammad Ali had 5 losses, Mike Tyson had the same, and a lot of great fighters, they lose fights, but doesn't define their careers. And then you got some fighters who's undefeated, he didn't fight anybody, and that not as good. They don't get remembered as much. So, Wilder will lose again. I've already foreseen it, I've already foresaid it. There's no way that Wilder can beat me. It's not a thing. He couldn't beat me after all the years out the ring and all the weight loss and everything. And when I had a proper training camp for the second one, he got obliterated. And the third time, I'm expecting more of the same, to be fair. But that doesn't mean to say he can't beat everybody else in the division with one hand tied behind his back, because I do believe he's the most dangerous. Even including myself, he's more dangerous than I'll ever know how to be. Deontay Wilder is the most dangerous fighter on this planet. All weights, doesn't matter. Wilder's the danger man of them all.
Wow. There you have it for yourself. Tyson Fury finally admits that Deontay Wilder is the most dangerous. He said all weights, he's the most dangerous. Now, I told you what I came to do this year, like the 48 Laws of Power, crush your enemies totally. And old media is looking extremely bad because old media has a bunch of their flunkies and they constantly berate Wilder. They constantly say Wilder sucks, Wilder has chicken legs, Wilder's a bum, Wilder can't do this, Wilder can't do that. But in these moments of honesty from Tyson Fury, I think he really believes what he's saying right now. You know, I know he's, as I said earlier, sometimes he's on record and he's lying and he's saying Wilder ain't nothing, but it's hard to deal with when you have a man. I do believe a man has to be congruent with what he says, but this has to be true because it's apparent that Wilder is dangerous based on, you just look at his record. So even if you're listening to the two different things that Fury said, it shows that Wilder's dangerous. He has generationally great power. Everybody knows Wilder for his power. He's literally one of the very few guys in boxing that can touch you on the chin and literally put your lights out with a single shot, power in both hands. He's mighty like Thor. That goes without saying. So I know Fury's telling the truth because he's been put to sleep by Deontay Wilder. Now, that we do know, Wilder is the most dangerous. So it's a terrible look because there's a lot of the British Teeth fans, and they keep saying the opposite. They want for Wilder to be horrible. They want for Deontay Wilder to be called names. They want these different things, but Tyson Fury, you're a king. Your fellow Brit, your fellow countryman, no matter what he tries to do, he can't deny that Wilder is a dangerous opponent. And that's the reality of it. That's the reality. So I know a lot of people want to slight Wilder and say he's not this and he's not good and Fury beat him easily. But this is a stark contrast and a contradiction to everything that Tyson Fury has said up to this point and what his fans have been saying about Wilder. They're saying, like, I've heard many things. I've heard people lie and rewrite the history and say Fury beat Wilder 2 fights, 2-0. That's not true. I was at the first fight, literally at the first fight, Credential Media, watched the fight for free in the Staples Center. It was like December 1st or whatever. And I was there. And Wilder, there's a strong argument you can make that it should have been over in the 12th round, and you don't count when you see a guy who looks like he's going into rigor mortis, right? But for whatever reason, Jack Reese gave him the count, did the slow count, and the rest is history. But the point is, it could have been over right there. But yet and still, you have Tyson Fury fans, and they just keep saying Fury won, Fury beat him easy. Now, I wouldn't call that easy if you're lying on the canvas unconscious. That's not really my definition of easy. That is not that. So they had to draw the first fight. That was the official ruling. The second fight, we know it didn't go Wilder's way, but Fury's been accused of cheating in both of the fights. So Fury's saying stuff like, "Oh, Wilder, there's nothing he could do. I'm great." And he, in this interview, he also said he's like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Lennox, all them rolled in one, which I disagree with that too. I don't think he's anything like any of those fighters that he's listing. That's my personal taste. But I digress. At least he admits that Deontay Wilder, so there's no confusion. There can't be no confusion from the fans. Wilder is a dangerous out. And it's weird because when it comes to the issue of Tyson Fury cheating, when that whole situation and when that whole talk comes about, I constantly see people say stuff like, "Oh, why would Tyson Fury need to cheat? Why would he need to cheat to beat Wilder?" Listen to what he's saying. I mean, do I got to play the audio again? He just said Wilder's dangerous. So you guys see it. You see what I came to do in the sport of boxing. I'm a man of my word, and I'm destroying old media. They know they lying. They know all the stuff they're saying, they're just saying because it makes them feel good. It's therapeutic. They don't care if it's the truth. Fury fans saying, why would Fury need to cheat in order to beat Wilder? I mean, he's answering the question for you. He views Wilder as the most dangerous guy. And even though he said at points, I'm never ever giving Wilder a rematch. I hate Wilder. He pretty much said that. You know what I mean? He has no choice but to admit that Wilder is great and Wilder would potentially beat all the guys in the world of boxing. So that takes a lot if you don't even like a person, but you're forced to give them some level of praise when you really don't like them and you really don't want to. That shows you that Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, oh my God, to this day, that shows you that he's great. That shows you his greatness. When a person doesn't even like you, but they have no choice but to give you your props and say that you'll beat everyone else in the division. And you know, Fury keeps trying this card about he wasn't prepared. He's lying. He's lying when he says that Wilder is weak, and then he'll come back and say Wilder's the most dangerous person in all of boxing. He's also lying when he's acting like he was ill prepared in the first fight, saying, "Oh, if he couldn't beat me in the first fight, he knocked you out," which is what I just said earlier. But he's lying because he didn't have little time to prepare. And in fact, he came in lighter for the first fight than he did in the second fight. And he looked in better shape in the first fight than the second fight, right? So what is he talking about? He didn't have time to prepare. Another reason you can tell he's lying is because remember he was sparring at the Wildcard Gym. That's where the Nick Asbury video came, accusing him of taking and removing padding, which is a no-no, and coincidentally the same thing that Wilder's team has accused Tyson Fury of doing. The walls are closing in for Tyson Fury. But anyway, the reason I know that Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, the Gypsy Cheat, had a full camp and had plenty of time to prepare because he moved his training location. He was in Big Bear, then he couldn't hack it and deal with the altitude up there because it's so dense and it's harder to breathe. And Tyson Fury, I believe, is pretty lazy. You know, he's not a workhorse, right? So he couldn't hang in Big Bear, and then he left and went to the Wildcard Gym. So if you have a whole camp with Abel Sanchez, and then you move for the remaining weeks to Wildcard Gym, then you had plenty of time. Because we look at like people who had really short camps, like some of Canelo Alvarez's opponents, like Caleb Smith. He wouldn't have time to have several weeks with Abel Sanchez in Big Bear and then not like the conditions and the altitude, and then have several weeks at Freddie Roach's gym where the Nick Asbury tampered glove video first hit the net. So we know Tyson Fury is not telling the truth per usual. He can say whatever he want, but he knows that Wilder is dangerous. And I'm so glad that he actually admitted it. And there's your answer for all the fans saying, "Oh, Fury, why would he beat Wilder easy? Wilder sucks." Fury doesn't feel that way, and he's on record basically telling you that. So I think this answers all the questions. People have questions like, "Oh man, why would he cheat?" There's your answer. He just told you. He's the most dangerous guy on the planet. I can't wait for October 9th. I think the madness will finally be over and finally cease. And I believe Wilder will be two-time. I've stuck to that prediction. I still feel the prediction. It's not a prediction that I'm making emotionally. Wilder looks to be in great shape. Tyson Fury, I don't believe he believes everything he's saying. He just said something like, he can't beat me. He got a puncher's chance. This is not real confidence. This is a narcissist talking, someone who wants to make you believe he's Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, George Foreman, Lennox Lewis rolled in one, but he does not believe. He just told you Wilder is, what man would say that? He just told you that Wilder is more dangerous than I'll ever be, than I'll ever consider being. He just said Wilder has no shot, but then he said he has a puncher's chance. Again, if a man is not congruent with what he says, I have a hard time believing that man is telling the truth. Because if you really felt that, you're not going to, like me as a competitor, I'm not going to give you anything. I'm not going to give you an inch, especially if you don't deserve it. He just said that Wilder can't win. He can't beat me. I'm the best, and you know, he doesn't have my number and he can't defeat me. But then he said he had a puncher's chance. This like mental jousting that he does with himself makes his claims unbelievable. He's saying that he's the greatest, and one minute he says Wilder is a bad fighter, then he'll say Wilder is super tough and super dangerous and the most dangerous, and pay him all these compliments. He's having black eyes in sparring, but then he's saying that he's as good as Muhammad Ali. I mean, you guys can believe the gimmicks if you want, and I'm so glad that Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, oh my God, the manifestation have started, and I'm so glad that he's not feeding into it and he's just focused on his camp. Wilder, I did a video about it. He said he's going to come in, actually his trainer by way of his trainer for clarification purposes. Malik Scott says that Wilder is probably going to come in around 235, 240-ish. So I can't wait for the fight. October 9th is Judgment Day. Check out my video about Wilder's weight. I'll put a card at the end of this video. Make sure you guys check that video. If you like the content, subscribe, share it with your friend. I cover all things boxing. This is your one-stop shop for all your boxing needs. October 9th, Judgment Day. Can't get here soon enough. Wilder's dangerous. Checkmate. And I'm out. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TUBEBUDDY. I've used TUBEBUDDY for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TUBEBUDDY is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TUBEBUDDY and level up your channel faster.